Buenas, buenas. Welcome to Music Marketing TV. I'm Kevin Ochoa, and today we're going to be taking a look at FabFilter Pro-C 2. More specifically, we're going to be talking about the sidechain functions within FabFilter Pro-C 2. Now, I've set up a demo here for EDM tracks, so a genre that's really heavily dependent on sidechain compression, whether that is to create sidechaining white noise effects, rhythmic basses, or to create like trance gates. Stuff like this makes sidechain compression very, very important inside the EDM genre. So I'm going to show you guys with an EDM track how to use sidechain compression with FabFilter Pro-C 2. So let's play back this demo right here. Oh, quickly before I forget, in the first video of the series, I forgot to cover the GUI functionality here, where we can resize the GUI. So we can make them different sizes, and we can also make it full size. So if I want a whole entire screen of just FabFilter Pro-C 2, I can do that. It's really helpful if you're tracking, vocals back and you really want to see what you're doing. The other thing you can do is remove the display altogether. And this way you just get your typical compressor parameters that you have in most compressors, and then just the peak level meter and the average meter. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let's go on to the actual demo track. So as you guys can hear, there's a lot of sidechain going on in this hard trance track. The instruments are very minimal, but that's all the instruments are very minimal, but that's all we really need to show this functions within Pro-C 2. So let's go ahead and look at the kick drum here. And what I'll do is I'll solo it. And this is your typical reverse bass. We have a few effects in the intro, and then the whole kick comes in on the drop. And as you can see here, the kick is taking up basically the whole entire spectrum, except in the reverse bass part. In there, we only have up to around 3K with lots of harmonics. On top of that, they're really much more quiet. So basically the problem with using this kick as a sidechain signal is that it takes up so much space spectrum wise and also throughout time. So usually when we want to have as a sidechain trigger is something that's snappy and short. Unfortunately, we typically would not be able to do that with this kick, but with some functions within Pro-C 2 allow us to use this kick as a sidechain trigger, and I'll show you guys how. So if we go over to the white noise right here, and solo it, and activate the kick. We see that the kick is triggering some rhythmic effect with FabFilter Pro-C 2 on the white noise. If I were to do this compression, or try to do this compression with a stock plugin, I unfortunately would not be able to do so. And I'll pull up the free limiter. The problem with the free limiter is that it has no filters with it, so we cannot adjust the input signal that comes into the free limiter. let's go to the compressor, and then we're gonna set the threshold down, then the ratio as well. I'm gonna select the sidechain input to be the kick. So no matter what we do when we adjust the parameters, we're just not gonna get that clean sound that we're getting with FabFilter Pro-C 2. And the magic behind this is the fact that you can have a filter, modify the input signal. So essentially what's going on is we're using the external sidechain in FabFilter Pro-C 2, and we're applying a filter. So in this case, I'm using the cleaning algorithm. You could also use the pumping one, and I'll show you guys how cool that one is. Let's take a listen to this one. And you see when I don't have the filter engaged, we get a similar effect to when we were using the free limiter, where we don't get this rhythmic modulation that we want to have. So I'm going to turn on the filter here. Pull it up. Now I'm going to mute the kick drum from its bus. It's still going to be sending to signal to the sidechain inputs on the white noise, but now we're going to use the audition parameter here to listen to what we have filtered and left from that kick. Only the little click. See that? If I were to pull the filter down, we get the entire kick, and as you can see here, the compression is no longer rhythmic. As I pull this up, we can see here how the compression is now going to be very rhythmic. Let's turn off the addition. See that? That's pretty cool. So in the first video, I kind of showed this, but with the Rock Kit, where I just high pass all the drums from the drum bus, and we were no longer getting the hi-hats nor the toms or snares in, but we were only getting the oomph of the kick drum. So with that low frequency, we were able to sidechain the basses in that first demo for the first video. Here we're doing the opposite. We're using the little click from the EDM kick drum, because these EDM kick drums sometimes are huge. Now we can use that little click at the very top, a little snap, and use it as a trigger. We could also do this. Activate this middle band right here. And make this signal much more loud, than it is. We can push it up, I believe, up to 30 dB. So we can increase almost the inputs that we're feeding into the compressor. And now that compression is much more defined. How cool is that? So that's really, really cool. Let's try it out and hear it in the whole track. Of course, we're going to turn on the kick drum. Let's bring it back down. So this also helps, clean up some space for the melody, which is pretty cool. How such a simple filter, can help out in the mix. Really wonderful. Yeah, this is fantastic. Let's try it out with the pump effect now, but with the pads over here. So you see the clean is pretty soft. If I go to pumping, the pumping is much more aggressive. Let's place this back in the context of the whole track. Cool. So now you're probably saying, hey, I know this is really cool, but I know I can use a volume shaper or something, you know, a growth speed, something of that nature, right? Let's try a growth speed. You know, you can get pretty similar results. Let me pull up the momentary 2, go to the sidechain one, and actually, here you go. Let's turn off the Pro-C 2. And we can get a very similar effect, right? But the problem with this is that it doesn't take into consideration changes that happen throughout the track. So this is going to be a very static move that you're going to do. But if you're using FabFilter Pro-C 2, you can control other parameters or let the input signal modulate the compression further. So for example here, on the white noise, I have the Pro-C 2. And remember how I said that we're only going to use a little click at the top? Now, because the kick in the beginning of the track is filtered, there's very little click on it. See that? As the kick is filtered in, so is the sidechain. So we're creating a really nice dynamic mix. This is really, really cool. And people, you know, often forget that this is a great way to get dynamics and modulation into your track. Right? Because or else I would have gone the sidechain all over and over again. Let's try that growth speed and place it on the white noise right there. It just doesn't sound as cool. It's also a lot harder to fine-tune, let's say, certain parameters here, because now we have to come in and modify 4 different guides, you know. So unfortunately, with a lot of these volume shaping plugins, that's one of the downsides to them. Now, if you're going to place this on a bass that is 4 on the floor that only comes into the drop, yes, these growth speed type of plugins work very, very well. But like I said, if you're going to be doing like a techno type of thing where it's not just big room, you're going to have some more modulation going on, you're probably going to want to go with a compressor. Also, if you're making drum and bass or future bass or these tracks that don't have 4 on the floor beats, you guys are going to want to apply this strategy. So let me open up a drum and bass track right here, little loop that I made, and we'll go ahead and turn off the reference for right here. Let's play this back. The mix is still quite sparse. You can definitely add more stuff to this. This is just like a little intro, but there's already some problems rising. And it's these basses with the kick. Where is my drums? Let me just mute these drums over here. Get them out of the way. Okay, so now what I want to do is basically grab the kick drum again. And I'm apply it to the sub bus and the bass bus. So I'm going to add two Pro-C2s. Pro-C2. Add the sidechain function, select external. And again, what I'll do is I'll do that old trick I did, where I just use the bottom of that kick drum, and then I'll just copy and paste this over to the next channel. And of course I have to turn off the auto gain. You gotta remember that. I made the mistake in the first video. And right click to sidechain this track. Cool. And we'll set up the sidechains. Kick. Oh, I guess I hadn't set up. Nope, I hadn't set up that one properly. Okay, here we go. So now the kick drum is going to be sidechaining. And let's go for pumping. Take off those inserts real quick. You can see here how the kick and the bass are colliding. So once we turn on those sidechain, we get a much cleaner kick drum. Turn on everything. We can also use it to get some of the background sound effects out of the way. So if I go to the kick, send this over here, and use, I'm just going to copy paste the Pro-C2 over here. Okay, I'm going to also apply that to the vocal effect right here. I really want to compress it so it doesn't bleed into the next beat. And for this one, I'll actually use the look ahead. And of course, I gotta tell it. That's cool. I like that. It doesn't cut it off completely, but it does it long enough. It's actually... Cool, let's try it in the whole track. And then these other ones, I can refine them, and we're really only trying to get the bass. Let's also activate these this cue right here, so we can clean up that compression effect right there. Let's go right there, and then turn this guy on. And there we go. We applied the sidechain compression here to the track. If we quickly turn off all the ones that we did use, I believe we also did it. Did we do it? No, we didn't do it there. The track sounds quite a bit less groovy actually without them. So we can also use compression in a way to add more groove and movement to these EDM tracks, as you saw with the previous track and you're seeing right now too. And actually, the farther back I move the release on this, yeah, we're starting to get bring it a little forward. Yeah, we're starting to get more movement within the track. Might have gone a little extreme on that last one, but on the sub one, it sounds pretty good already. So that's how we do sidechaining with FabFilter Pro-C 2. Why you should try it out, even if you think you don't want to do it. For various reasons. Sometimes people say, "Hey, I only want to have a a growth speed type of plugin where it's automatically doing all the volume shaping, itself." But in reality, you guys want to try out something like this because it's really going to take you a little bit farther production wise, because you're going to be able to add modulation with compression. So that's really, really cool. And if you're doing other genres, not just EDM, if you're doing drum and bass, future bass, you guys don't really want to be setting up really complex lines. It's going to take you longer than it is going to take you to set up a compressor. As you can see there, I can put it on a bus and affect multiple channels at once. So that's amazing as well. It's a way to save more time when you're mixing. So I hope you guys learned something here from this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. Also subscribe to the channel so you guys don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And make sure you guys drop some comments down below, because we have a few more videos in the series. We have another video on sidechaining, which is going to be talking about MIDI, because we can also add MIDI here to trigger the sidechain. So, and we could also do some cool things with the mid-side mode as well. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Once again, I'm Kevin Ochoa with Music Marketing TV, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.